Happy Friday, Miami. This is Buy, Sell, Hold, a real estate podcast about what's going on in the Miami real estate market. I'm Peter Zalewski. I am a condo consultant. I'm an expert witness, also founder of the Miami Condo Investing Club. I'm joined here by my partner, the moderator of the program, no one else but Daniel Hernandez. He's a real estate advisor over at Compass Real Estate over at Coconut Grove. He does single-family houses as well as condos. What's going on, Daniel? How are you?
Ho, Peter, Merry Christmas. I think today's Boxing Day too, if in case you're watching from the UK. Is today the first day of Kwanzaa as well? What other holiday greetings do I have to put out there to make sure, we're DEI? Do we still do DEI in Florida?
Oh, Florida, I don't think so. I think it was outlawed. If it's not outlawed in 2025, it'll definitely be outlawed in 2026.
Well, it's okay. I'm in Louisiana today where it's probably definitely outlawed. But in any event, this is Buy, Sell, Hold Miami. I'm in New Orleans today. And as promised, we don't take days off, guys. You got other publications out there. Oh, I gotta go to Colombia. I gotta go to the Bahamas. I'm going to, I don't know, where do people go for the winter? By the way, I saw in Colorado, all these folks that go to Colorado for skiing during this time of year, there's no snow.
Well, New York, according to the financial press, I was listening to Bloomberg today. They were talking about 9 inches were going to be rolling in New York City beginning at 4 o'clock, right as the market is closing and right as we're going live with this podcast.
Well, it's certainly not snowing here. And I know it's not snowing in Miami, Peter. No,
Gorgeous
right?
in Miami. Perfect weather in Miami, blue skies, everything is perfect.
Woo, I love that. Well, guys, this is Buy, Sell, Hold Miami. And if you're joining us for the first time, well, this is the last time you'll be joining us in 2025 because it's a new year starting next Thursday. So next Friday will be January 2nd. That'll be our first show of 2026. I guess would that be season 2, Peter?
I think it might be. If you look at television, what do they do? 12 episodes, and that constitutes a season. So who knows? Maybe we're going to season 4.
Whoa, Peter. So this is episode 32. And if you're just joining us for the first time today, this is actually a great episode to join us because we're recapping the biggest stories we had in 2025. So 32 episodes, 31 episodes, times 5. We've talked about 150 different things on this show in the last 6-7 months. And Peter and I got together and we powwowed what we think are the most impactful stories we went through of the year. And we're gonna come at you hard because each one of them is really, really important about what happened back in 2025 and then what we think we're going to see going on in 2026. So jumping straight into it, Peter, Ron DeSantis, who is our lame duck governor, lame duck, I'm not trying to be mean or anything. He can't get reelected governor because he's terming out. So he has a plan. He has a vision. He wants better for the homeowners of Florida because he's been so great to the constituents this whole time. He wants to get rid of property taxes, and he's gone to the legislature. He's gone to the Florida House up in Tallahassee, and he's told them. He says, "Guys, I want you to put your heads together. I want you to get into little groups, and I want you to present some plans." And we've talked about these plans over the last several months. The legislature came up back in October with, I think it was like 7, 8, or 9 crazy plans. I mean, I give them credit for thinking outside of the box because outside of the box, they most certainly were. But the one that seems to be the front runner is one that they're calling HJR 209. That was the one, Peter, where if you carried homeowners insurance, you would get an increase on your homestead.
Okay.
So right now the homestead is $25,000 plus $25,000. You get $50,000 off of your taxable value. And now they're saying, well, if you carry homeowners insurance, which remember we have an insurance crisis here in the state of Florida, or there in the state of Florida. We have an insurance crisis there in the state of Florida. That if you carry homeowners insurance, we'll push that homestead to $200,000. So it's not a property tax elimination, but they're painting it as a property tax relief.
Interesting. So it sounds to me, because I always like to reference it. I listen to the NPR affiliate down here in Miami called WLRN. They do programming on Fridays, and inevitably, whenever they talk about property tax and the elimination that Governor DeSantis wants to be done, everybody calls them from all over the state of Florida saying, "We'll pay the property taxes because we don't have state income tax, and we know in order to pay for schools, in order to pay for firefighters and police and everything like that, it comes out of our property taxes. So we don't mind paying our property taxes. What we need help with is insurance." So it sounds, Daniel, like this is a workaround. This is a MacGyver moment. And then if you don't remember MacGyver, this was like this genius. He would put him in a situation. He'd have two paper clips and a rubber band, and he could like somehow start a plane. So
Solve the property insurance crisis.
Yeah. So maybe what you do is, because you can't deal with insurance because you don't want to get in the pockets of the insurance company. And more importantly, you don't want to expand Citizens, which is the insurer of last resort, the state of Florida backstops. Maybe this is the way they do it. They simply expand the homestead exemption in terms of capping it in and what the deduction is off of your value. And maybe you make up for the insurance for a year or two. So, that could be good. And then 2 years from now, they can go ahead and try it all over again.
It's definitely not the most outlandish proposal, but it's a far cry from totally eliminating property taxes. Because we looked at the numbers last year, or this year, a few months ago, and eliminating property taxes, even in a big county like Miami-Dade County, would be catastrophic to the budget. I mean, you would have to cut jobs, you would have to cut salaries. Now, it is worth mentioning that in none of these plans would school budgets get hit. So, your 2% property tax, we'll always talk about, a third goes to the state, third goes to the county, third goes to the schools. The schools would always get their money. And so that would be totally carved out. Who gets screwed in the really outlandish proposals are the smaller municipalities. So you got like the city of Coral Springs, or all these small municipalities that don't have $300, $400, $500 million, $1 billion budgets. So you cut out the property taxes, and where's the money going to come from? We're going to double sales tax? What else can we do, Peter?
That's a good question. I mean, what do we like to do? What we like to do is we like to push it onto the tourists. So we put in place, whenever we're going to bond out infrastructure, whenever we need to come up with extra money, we always hit the tourists, whether it's at the airport, maybe they're renting a car, or maybe there's some sort of tax they put on a hotel room. Somehow they always hit the tourists over and over and over. But what we're hearing, and I'm interested to see the stats, first half of the year, Miami International Airport international passenger traffic was down. Down slightly, but it was off pace. I'm curious to see what we see for the year of 2025, because if we are any reflection, or if Las Vegas is any reflection of maybe what we're going to see here, Las Vegas is getting crushed. You are seeing all these live videos, people walking around the Las Vegas Strip and taking a look at it. And why do I bring up, and nobody's around, but why do I bring up Vegas? Because Vegas is a real popular destination for those people coming from California, people on the West Coast, just like Miami's a popular destination for people coming from up in the Northeast, whether it be New York or Boston or anything like that.
Right.
So, and don't forget, the Canadians are boycotting. There's all kinds of stuff on social media where the Canadians like, we are not going back to Florida. We're dumping our condos. We don't want to be there because we got disrespected. And Governor DeSantis said, basically, we can kiss his ass, and he's not going to do anything. He's not going to bend the knee. He's not going to apologize. So I'm very curious to see what kind of plays out, because if you lose a tourist money coming in here, I don't know how the hell you push forward any kind of elimination or reduction in property tax.
Well, we have people. We have 49% of pre-construction condos being bought by foreigners.
That's right. And Latin Americans are a big percentage of that. And who else?
Like 90% of that.
Yep.
If you go to them, it's definitely a conundrum. And I would imagine the vast majority, I don't have numbers for this, but Miami Realtors probably does, but most of those pre-construction buyers are not homesteading these properties. That's investment grade stuff. So they'd be paying property taxes on these properties.
I'm doing a study right now. I was looking at Brickell Avenue area. The average asking price is $1.3 million a door or a unit. So if you just put 2% on that, you're talking $26,000 roughly in property tax. And this would probably would be on the hook what these foreign nationals or these visitors would be paying. Now you suddenly start whittling it down. That's a little bit of chunk of change. I don't know if simply increasing the exemption for the taxable value of a property. I don't know if that's going to make up for, basically writing off this $26,000 annually in property tax related to some of these condos in Brickell.
Well, here's my question. And I did the quick back of the napkin math. So I already get $50,000 for my homestead, right? So if I push it to 200K,
Yep.
But I self-insure.
Yep.
Now, we talked about this last week. Average homeowners insurance policy in the state of Florida is like $5,800 a year, right?
Okay.
So is it worth me getting the property? Is it worth me paying a $5,800 a year premium to get those tax savings? Or does that $200,000 homestead really not do much for me? And my back of the napkin math said it really doesn't. So if I currently self-insure and I'm being incentivized to carry homeowners insurance to get a tax abatement or to get to push my homestead from 50,000 to 200,000, it really doesn't pencil. So it sort of seems like legislative press relief fluff.
Well, and let's take it to the next level related to that. What happens if we get a pullback in pricing? You get a pullback in pricing. Remember, going back to the Great Recession, City of Miami had junk bond status, its credit rating, because the values had fallen so much, and the amount of money that bonding agencies or rating agencies could sort of anticipate, it went down significantly. And when you don't have cash coming in, it's more expensive to get your hands on cash. And if you have outstanding debt and you don't have towards coming and spending that money, this could create all kinds of havoc if you take up that exemption up to 200 grand, and then you get a decrease in valuations. Now, where do you make up the money? What are you going to do like they did last time? You're going to put there was like a fire tax. There was some sort of tax that was associated with it. Ultimately, it was voted down, and there was a lawsuit. And they got thrown out, and I think it was the city of Miami had to turn around and refund all kinds of money. They try to get creative, but if you don't have state income tax and you don't have property taxes, what the hell do you have? How do you keep the lights on?
Well, they said the first idea when it was just, hey, let's just eliminate it. The only retort they had, the only answer was, well, we'll just double sales tax at 12%. I mean, that does not incentivize tourists to come over here and buy, I don't know, a digital camera from Best Buy before they go on their cruise.
Again,
it harms renters and middle and lower income constituents or residents here. So that obviously wasn't going to be a popular plan.
Yep. Leave it as it is. It's been working. We don't have state income tax. Leave the property tax in place. Deal with the insurance somewhat away. Maybe offer incentives for people who upgrade their houses, and therefore their insurance is probably going to go down because it's a much safer structure and it's modern technology. I mean, there's got to be other ways to kind of do it, because eliminating property taxes and not having state income tax, it seems like a disaster in the making.
I totally concur with you, Peter. So buy, sell, hold. Florida's property tax moonshot will catapult the market.
I'm a sell.
I'm a sell. All right. Miami's TS&D ordinance is better than Florida's Live Local Act. TS&D, by the way, stands for Transit Station Neighborhood Development. They got to get an intern to get a better name for that, but I guess that is what it is. TS&D. For anybody who hasn't listened to us blab about this, TS&D is an ordinance in the city of Miami. So Miami-Dade County has 34 municipalities throughout the county. And so this only refers to the city of Miami. But like most things, city of Miami is the largest municipality. And a lot of the other municipalities take, they look at the city of Miami sort of like as our older, dysfunctional, drug addicted brother. And, they might follow suit. And what TS&D enables developers to do, TS&D, just like Live Local, is a tool in a toolbox for developers. So developers, they buy a piece of dirt, they are in the business of making money, so they build a building and they sell the units or rent the units, and they make money, and they give distributions to their investors. Now, Florida, post-Surfside, came up with this Live Local Act, and Live Local Act is supposed to solve the affordable housing crisis. And what that would enable developers to do is supersede municipalities. Remember, because it's a state, it's an act. It came from Tallahassee, beamed down into the municipalities, and it enables developers to effectively go to municipalities and say, hey, state says I can do this. I'm going to build as dense as I want, as high as I want, given a 1 mile radius. So within 1 mile, if Joe Schmo's building half a mile away is 50 stories tall, I can build a 50-story tall building. And as long as I fill it with 40% of workforce housing units, a workforce housing unit is defined by anywhere between 80 to 120% of average median income, AMI. You'll see this all over the place, AMI. And 80 to 120% of average median income, I think the AMI is $80,000 and change. So as long as you make under about $105,000, you qualify for one of these workforce housing units. And developers love it because they can build densely. They love it because they know they're going to be able to fill these workforce housing units because we have a workforce housing crisis here. Where are people who are making $100,000 going to live? I can't believe I have to say that, but $100,000 ain't what it used to be. And so that's live local. And then Miami says, shit, well, if they're going to supersede us with live local, we got to come up with our own thing. And so City of Miami comes up with the TSND. And what TSND says is, okay, you guys want to do live local? That's great. But what if we could offer you this instead? And TSND is if your property, if your dirt is within 1 mile of fixed rail, that means a tri-rail station or a metro rail station, you can build higher, denser, more units, and you don't have to build 40% for workforce. Depending on certain parameters, you might only have to build 5% for workforce, 10% for workforce, and then you can make the rest of it luxury. And so that's, in a nutshell, the differences. I mean, it's much more dense than that, but in a nutshell, those are the primary differences between live local and TSND. They are different tools in a developer's toolbox when dealing with pre-development. And so the question here is, Peter, is TSND a better tool than live local, or is it just a different tool?
Well, listen, I got to compliment you on the order in which you chose to talk about these stories. Why? Because the first story was about property tax. What is this story really about? It's about property tax. It's about maximizing development in an area. If it's right by the train station, it's going to make noise. Therefore, you're not going to get top dollar for it. So, but yet let's somehow jumpstart development there. Why? So we can get more money in the coffers. Same thing with the live local. Some of these people, not in my backyard. I don't want you doing this. I don't want you doing that. So they run all kind of interference. Now the developers are going to be able to go forward, assuming that they meet all the criteria. And what are they going to do? They're going to build more. What does that mean? More property tax money. So all of this is based on property tax. The takeaway. But what I will tell you about the transit station development, was it TSND? Is that what
TSND. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm having a dyslexic moment. TSND. So really what the crucial part is, this shit should have been going on forever and ever and ever. And it never went on, I guess, because we had enough developable land. But now with the cost of everything going up, I think increasingly there is going to be demand for it. I mean, I've been car free and not court ordered since 2013. I gave up my car, and the amount of money I save is tremendous. Now, how do I decide where I'm going to live? Because right now I'm renting because my expectation is the market is going sideways. But how do I decide where to live? I want to be in and around walking distance of a train station because I could jump on it. Because you got to take the bus to get somewhere. It's a complete pain in the ass. So I would say the grassroots efforts are already there. A lot of households, maybe you don't need 2 cars. Maybe Uber can sort of supplement and you could use the metro. So I think all this is going forward. What I would like to see on the TSND is I'd like to have a shelf life. I would have like an expiration date to jumpstart it to make some of these developers move forward quicker. And actually,
like you get the dirt, and if you don't do it, you don't lose the ability to use TSND.
Well, I'm kind of looking at like what they did in Panama. A buddy of mine, some buddies were selling condos out in Panama when they were first starting to try to jumpstart. They gave you 20 years property tax free if you went in there. So what happened is, but it was within a certain range. I would love for this TSND, I'd love it to only go for, let's say, 10 years out. So beginning in 2026, only till 2036. Now the pressure is on to sort of move in here. And then otherwise, maybe it'll revert back to something else because you just need a few to kind of get it going to jumpstart it. Now, it's going to get built in and around Coconut Grove. It's going to get built around South Miami. But is it going to get built off of 79th Street? Is it going to get built in and around Hialeah Racetrack, places like that? Because you start seeing that, now it becomes very interesting. Where if you are somebody without a car, it makes all the sense in the world. Now, in terms of